What you are about to hear will reveal the power of this wisdom and show that it is a genuine form of prophecy. In the lecture, The Messianic Dynasty, I presented the 7 mystical points within the Zodiac that are associated with miraculous and biblical events in the history of the Jewish people. These points serve as channels through which divine influence descends into the world, and their activation unfolds through a lineage of 7 righteous leaders, beginning with Abraham, our forefather, and continuing until King David. Each of these righteous leaders is associated with a distinct point in the zodiac that corresponds to his spiritual role. In recent generations, in preparation for the redemption and the building of the Third Temple, a second lineage of 7 righteous ones was established, beginning with the Baal Shem Tov to the Rashab. This lineage parallels the first in a striking manner, so much so that the 7 mystical points are shared by both dynasties. Let us now go deeper into 2 points from the second lineage: the point of the Alter Rebbe, known as the Baal Hatanya, and the point of the Middle Rebbe. The essential difference between them is that the Alter Rebbe revealed profound foundational secrets in the teachings of Hasidism, while the Middle Rebbe took the teachings of his predecessor and expanded them in great detail. In the language of Kabbalah, the 2 Sfirot, Chochmah Uveina, the Alter Rebbe represents the Sephira of wisdom, whereas the Middle Rebbe represents the Sephira of understanding. Since Uranus was discovered in 1781, during the era of the Alter Rebbe, we must examine the position of Uranus in the zodiac on the day of his passing. This is the point of wisdom, let's call it the first point. Uranus continued on its path, and on the day of the Middle Rebbe's passing it reached the point of understanding, the second point, representing the expansion of the Hasidic wisdom. And behold, on the day of the passing of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Pluto was positioned precisely in his case as well, at the first point. Pluto is relevant here because its discovery in 1930 occurred during the Rebbe's own lifetime. Pluto will continue along its course for another 27 years until it reaches the second point. Therefore, it was expected that this day would be the day of passing of someone subordinate to the Rebbe, whose role would be to expand and elucidate the teachings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And this is exactly what occurred. In the year 2021, on the 6th of the month of Av, when Pluto reached the second point, on that very day Rabbi Yoel Kahn passed away, one of the central and most influential figures in the Chabad movement, the authoritative transmitter of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's teachings. For 70 years, Rabbi Kahn reviewed, explained, and elucidated the Rebbe's teachings for all segments of the Jewish people. The Rebbe himself said of him that he draws up and pours forth from his master's teachings to others. But here comes the astonishing part. These 2 points exist not only in the spiritual realms but also in the physical world, especially in the realm of technology. In the lesson, Spiritual and Technological Developments, I revealed that there is a point in the zodiac responsible for technological breakthroughs in the domains of time, space, energy. This does not refer to the inventions themselves, but to their actual implementation in the world. If we examine this point carefully, we will realize that it is, in fact, the point of wisdom. So first comes the first point, at which a major technological breakthrough occurs. Then follows the second point, bringing another technological event, far more dramatic and with many more details than the one associated with the first point. In 1990, NASA launched the Hubble Space Telescope, a project costing more than $3 billion. This remarkable instrument unveiled billions of stars and galaxies that had never before been observed. However, soon after it reached orbit, it became evident that the mirror contained a defect, causing the images to appear distorted. 3 years later, a team of astronauts was sent to fix the problem, and the telescope began transmitting images of unprecedented sharpness. On the historic day when the astronauts were sent into space, Pluto stood precisely at the first point, the technological point. From that moment on, it was clear that as Pluto continued toward the second point, it would herald a far more dramatic technological development. And indeed, in 1996 NASA began constructing Hubble's successor, the James Webb Space Telescope. Its purpose was the same as Hubble, but with vastly greater power, returning far more detailed images, revealing galaxies so distant that their spectrum cannot be detected as visible light. Already in 1996, I was convinced that the launch would occur in 2021, when Pluto reached the second point, and no later than December, marking its final passage through that point. NASA originally planned to launch the telescope in 2007. However, the launch was delayed again and again, roughly 10 times. But the true reason behind all these delays was one: Pluto had not yet reached the second point. Through a series of technical factors and considerations, God guided the decision makers to postpone the launch without their conscious awareness for the deeper reason. And then, finally, on December 25, 2021, the James Webb Telescope was launched into space, and exactly as foreseen, on that very day Pluto stood at the second point. The conclusion is that there are no coincidences.